Welcome back to the Night Report podcast. We're on episode 15. Joined with me once again is publisher of the Night Report, Richie Schnyderite, and beat reporter Chris Nalwasky. Guys, we have a bowl game on Friday that we're going to talk about today. We already kind of previewed it last week when we weren't even sure it was going to happen. And of course, about an hour after we ended the live stream, got confirmation. But yeah, we're here. It's game week.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen. We kind of said it last week on the live stream. The minute we get off, something's going to break, and I think it was not even 10 minutes out, and it's just boom, they're going bowling. And I got to give what do you call it? I got to give Rutgers a little little dig, kind of, if you want to call it that. That was kind of a corny promo video, I thought. The bowling,
going bowling thing.
Come on, you can't do any better than that. I don't know.
That was a little cheesy.
Go to the local zoo and get a gator somewhere and just go feed them a thing and do what everyone else does with the pictures on videos and put a Wake Forest logo and just throw it in there. And I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As of we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and it sounds like the team is in Jacksonville. So that's one hurdle, that's cleared so far. You got a couple days left until game day. But yeah, Rutgers Wake Forest coming up on Friday morning at 11 o'clock. So yeah,
we'll see if it happens. I'm being very cautious with this one. I hate to be the naysayer of the group, but after seeing bowl after bowl after bowl canceled, you see Central Michigan making a 6-hour trip across the desert to go play a bowl now.
Yeah, that was wild. And they got to choose which bowl they really wanted to attend. It was the Sun Bowl or the Barstool Bowl.
Which is of course we're going to pick the bigger name one, whatever gives me more money, basically, at the end of the day.
Yep.
The Barstool one got canceled. The Boston College Bowl, I forget who they were playing against, got canceled. SMU got canceled. I know, Mike, you just had the list, right?
Yeah. So the Military Bowl got canceled. The Fenway Bowl got canceled. The Barstool Bowl, we already mentioned, got canceled. So I think those are the only three. And so that was the Fenway Bowl was Virginia SMU. The Military Bowl was Boston College ECU. Yeah, it's a shame because a lot of these guys, this is their biggest stage, especially these mid-major schools. How many games on ESPN are they going to get a year? And all these bowls were going to be featured when everybody's got the time when they're off with their family and stuff. So it sucks.
Yeah. Can we bring back the Garden State Bowl? What was the reasoning for getting rid of that? It makes so much sense. You have MetLife. It's kind of cool. You could play on the New York City type thing. It's 20 minutes from MetLife, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Garden State Bowl has been played in a long time. The last one was in 81.
I know.
Yeah, Rutgers was what? That was 78. They played in that?
Rutgers? Yeah, they played in the first one, which was in 78. Yeah.
Or don't even call it the Garden State Bowl. Call it make any popular business in New York City and just have them buy it out like every other, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. And which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, Greg and Pat never called it Tax Slayer Bowl. They called it the Gator Bowl throughout that whole press conference.
Who, Pat Dobbs?
Yeah, Pat Dobbs, yes.
I texted Rich and I'm like, did I just say Dobbs? I was like, who's Pat Dobbs?
I couldn't believe it. It's just, you would think they would know something like that.
I know. It's they probably have the name right in front of them on a sheet of paper,
It's whatever. But it sounded very interesting the way the CEO or president, whatever the hell he was, the way he talked about it. He's like, yeah, now we got two teams that want to be here. And I'm like, oh, you trying to throw a little shade at A&M?
It sounded like it.
Yeah, I think they were having a down year to begin with, and they didn't really want to have that fifth loss on their record books. So,
of course,
I get it. They're scared.
Yeah, I mean, the way they spend money, you would expect them to win every year. I guess at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems they have the least aligned with reality spending in their athletic department. They just There's the little brother, despite being in the SEC, to Texas in Texas. They've had some success with Johnny Manziel, but they've never been in the position to be in the playoff hunt in November. They've just kind of been a good team.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. They've actually been pretty shitty, to be honest. They even with Manziel, they never made was it BCS or was it playoff then? I don't even remember.
BCS. It was BCS.
Was it still BCS? They got a BCS bowl, I think. I just don't think they made the championship, but I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. They spend no tomorrow, but they also don't have a DC technically. I guess we're still waiting to hear what happens there. I guess neither is Rutgers, so can't really say much there. Greg did mention though, he's going to run the defense. among other things, which was like, all right, you're just gonna do what you normally do, like just name somebody.
Yep.
If I had to guess, Bob Frazier's probably in his ear 24/7 that entire game. I know he did mention Fran's going to help out too. Do you know who he didn't mention, which was interesting? He didn't mention Panagos, who's got a pretty long coaching history. He didn't mention who else is there another defensive coach? No, I guess that's it, right? Just Panagos.
Yeah, Panagos. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he mentioned Brown. He mentioned Frazier. He didn't mention Panagos, which
yeah. I mean, I know he said like Fran, Bob Frazier, and then he said and whoever else or whatever.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you said Greg's gonna call defense. You'll probably call it over the headset, but at some points of the game, you'll probably see like Frazier or Fran, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, another guy on the sideline calling the plays. What could go wrong?
Speaking of that, have you guys heard anything about the DC for next year? Any rumblings?
No, it's all quiet. They're not going to do much until after this bowl. At least this is like priority number one. God forbid it's a win-win. I know, Chris, you actually asked a question, right?
I did.
Like a no-lose situation, pretty much, because you look good, and it's like, holy shit, Rutgers just looked good against a 10-win Wake Forest team, and it's like, all right, whatever, they look good, they lost, or you win, and it's like, holy shit, they just beat a 10-win Wake Forest.
Right. After not practicing for like a month, whatever. So
or you lose, and it's like, no, we didn't have enough time to practice.
Exactly.
We never
but Shannon was like, we're going to win the game. It's gonna hurt if you lose. So
he'll never admit that, but I really do think it's I wouldn't say it's a no lose, but it's like almost certainly an upside situation. Like it's very few scenarios where this could turn out badly. Like the worst case would be Gavin plays a lot and he tears his ACL or something like that. Like that would be
come on.
And that's put that into the universe.
I'll have to knock on all the wood.
There you go.
Jeez.
Yeah. Honestly, like I talked about last week too. I don't think there's really any pressure on Rutgers in this game at all. I mean, a week ago they were sitting at home, not doing anything at this point. Maybe making some phone calls in terms of the bowl game, but that's really about it at this juncture. And they still had finals and everything the guys did, so they had Christmas coming up. But yeah, they made it back on Saturday night. They had practice on Sunday, and they made it down to Florida yesterday or this morning, whatever, I forget what it was. But yeah,
whatever
they're there.
it was.
So,
yeah. It's going to be interesting. They have they practiced Sunday. You just said. Did they practice Monday? I'm assuming they did. They just didn't let media.
I'm assuming they did. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't let media in on Monday. It was just Sunday, and they didn't even let media in on Sunday. Everyone had to sit outside until it was time to go.
Right.
Tuesday was probably travel, so I assume probably no practice if I had to guess. And I'm just looking at the schedule right now. Only Wake Forest practice Tuesday. Rutgers practice is Wednesday. Rutgers press conference is on Thursday at the stadium. And Friday's game day. Holy shit, they're gonna have like 4 practices.
Exactly. It's insane.
I know it was interesting talking to Vedral the other day, or Vedral, or however the hell you pronounce it. I should probably ask him that. He's been around here long enough. But he basically said, he's like, guys just gotta get their feet underneath them again. It's definitely an interesting, he said Sunday was kind of interesting. They're still in game shape, but they're not all the way there. So he kind of hinted that they're gonna have to step it up a bit, ramp it up a little bit. Team wise, I don't know, if you're missing all these NFL guys, it's going to be very intriguing to say the least. I guess we kind of saw it towards the end of the season because Fadokasi already missed a couple games. Tyreen Powell filled in pretty well. He looks pretty good. We did talk to Turner on Wednesday, or just a Sunday. On Sunday, he's obviously going to be there. Talked to Singleton, I'm assuming is going to fill in. Yeah, he probably is a starter. I know he's listed as a starter on the depth chart. So, I mean, I don't know. He had a couple good games towards the end of the season. He didn't look too bad. One last hurrah for him. Avery Young said he's coming back, I think, via social media already. So that's like solidified. I'm just trying to piece together this depth chart. And it's like, I might post something on it. I might do like a little like article projecting it, but probably going to get yelled at if I do that. So,
I mean, I'm pretty like, I follow a lot of these guys on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and I did see a lot of people on that team playing. I definitely saw Fadokasi. I saw Keontae Hamilton, which is good to see. I'm glad he was not held up by the wrestling schedule. Singleton was definitely on the plane from the pictures I saw. Julius Turner was there. Ifan Maijo was there for sure.
That's a good sign for 2022.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't see Melton though, so that's obviously not. He's probably the single most impactful guy in terms of this game that we could have, and if we don't have him, we're really going to be struggling at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the DC situation though. Like Rob Smith obviously didn't call like the most exotic defense, pretty base, pretty boring. I wonder if Schiano calling the defense gives Wake Forest looks that we haven't put on film yet this year. Puts a little more pressure, does a little more stunting with their line, gets a little more exotic pressure going. I don't know. I'm not saying that they could change the defense overnight, but he definitely called an aggressive defense the first time he was here. Hopefully we see a little bit of that in the Wake Forest game.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if Rob Smith even called the defense at sometimes. It looked like he was kind of playing Madden and it was Ask Madden basically. But it was pretty ugly. There was some times where but I do give him credit. There's a couple games where it's like, holy shit, you know what? This guy might actually not be that bad. But then there's other games that's like, yeah, no, that's why he's gotten fired from Minnesota. That's why he's gotten fired from Arkansas. That's why I think Rutgers even let him go once. I don't know. Did he get let go under Flood? I think he did. I can't remember.
I don't recall.
But either
I know he coached under Schiano. What was he under Flood too?
Ooh, you might be right. Maybe it was Schiano.
I think he was a Schiano guy.
I just pulled him up. He was one of the only coaches that stayed. It looks like.
Okay.
Actually, no, he didn't. I'm sorry. So 2012 was Schiano's last year, right?
Yeah. That was Schiano left after 2011 season.
But that was Frazier.
Okay. So he was there. So he was there for the first year of Flood, and then he left to be the linebackers coach in Tampa Bay.
Okay.
But he was there for 3 years under Schiano and the 1 year under Flood, and then obviously the last 2 years under Schiano again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they did blitz a lot. I feel like they blitzed the safeties a lot, this past season. But yeah, Rutgers did get burned a lot in the passing game with big plays. The running plays, those leak out some big gains there too. So that's definitely one thing Rutgers are going to have to do Rutgers are going to have to not give up against a team like Wake Forest, or as Schiano talked really at length about yesterday about their offense. They have really good quarterback, really good receivers. He compared their receiver group to maybe even like an Ohio State type situation. So, all those guys are going to the NFL. So, I mean, if it's anything like that, Rutgers are going to have his hands full. I know he said the secondary's, excited for the challenge, but it's definitely a challenge. And, it's one thing to be excited, but you also had to play well as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's hyperbole either. Their offense is really good. Hartman, even though he's a sophomore in eligibility, he's been there 4 years. He's been the starter for 4 of them. I think he came in as a freshman. Obviously, the QB1 thing we've talked about. He was a starter there. He got hurt his actual sophomore year. He missed most of that season. Then the COVID year, and now this year. So yeah, he's played a lot of ball there. They run a very like unorthodox offense with how long that they hold their mesh points. Like Hartman's not the most accurate quarterback. Sometimes he'll throw a perfect ball, like where it's kind of like either going to be a completion or incompletion. He doesn't throw many balls up that can be intercepted. But he does underthrow a lot of guys. He puts a lot of air under his deep balls, especially. And sometimes you'll see like his receivers be like 2 yards wide open. They'll have to come back to the ball. They make a lot of contested catches. They're a really good offense. They don't have much of a running game. They obviously don't have much of defense, but I wonder if their defense is as bad as the numbers show, or if their offense is just so good, their defense is just on the field so much. I don't know.
I thought about that too, and it's actually interesting looking at their defense. It's led by Chase Jones, St. Peter's Prep, Jasir Taylor, Brick Township High School, I think it was. There's a lot of New Jersey guys on this team. There's like 9 or 10 of them I was looking at before, and I never even thought to think Wake Forest would have this many Jersey guys. But
yeah, maybe. Good point.
Yeah, it's interesting. Donald Stewart, you might remember that name. A Stanford commit at one time. I don't know if he transferred from Stanford, wide receiver, 4-star.
He's a receiver, right? Okay.
Yeah, Paramus Catholic. He's like their number 4 receiver, and he was pretty damn good in that high school. So it's like they got some weapons on that side. But the defense, I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, it's clearly not good, but I don't know if it's really, really bad as it shows, or like you kind of said, Mike, it's just they're on the field 24/7, kind of like, I guess what we could kind of blame a little bit on Rutgers as well.
Yeah, didn't they just sign a running back last year? It was some kid out of like Jackson?
Yeah, Will Towns out of Jackson Memorial.
Yeah.
I actually liked him. I think Rutgers fucked up on that one pretty bad because
Did he
he
play at
wanted
all
a
this
Rutgers
year?
offer bad. I remember talking to him at one of the camps, and it was him and someone else. I forget who it was. This is at that PCR camp, and neither of the guy, they were both going Power 5, whoever it was, and neither of the guys got a Rutgers offer. And they're like, "Damn, man! Like, if only we could have stayed home, like, and we could have played together." And I'm sitting here, I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, here's prime example number one. Like, it's insane. But I don't know if he'll ever start, but he is pretty good. I thought, at least.
This new staff is hyper selective with NJ guys, especially. Like Alex put up his 2023 like recruiting preview today on offense.
Yeah.
And the amount of like out of state offers we put out is shocking. And we have maybe like 6 offers out on offense for New Jersey 2023 class, which I mean, I don't think that's quite a testament to how bad the class is in 2023 in New Jersey, but
yeah,
more of their, if you offer a guy in New Jersey, it's almost like you have to be willing to take him the moment you offer him, which kind of sucks.
Exactly. And you should know the background on the kids at this point. I mean, you've been here, what, 2 years?
Mhm.
I guess actually almost a little over 2 years on the dot. But yeah, they should know if this kid's good or not, or what they like, what they don't like. It is interesting because like you kind of see like the Jersey guys that they have offered, they're kind of like pretty not maybe the favorite for most, if not all. Like Fama Toure, favorite. Jabril Mace, I like a lot. I think they should take him ASAP, but probably a favorite with him if it's committable. That's the other issue. Who else? Jasir Peterson, they already offered, committed, done. That's a huge get early on. Eric King sounds like he might be next. Yeah, there's not many offers on offense. If they go for a center, 3rd year in a row, I don't know if they do. I know Alex mentioned him, Chris Marino to Don Bosco. He's already got Syracuse, Temple, UMass, Maryland. Very good player. He's just like 6'2", 6'1", something like that.
How much would that help with Chase Basantis if we offered him?
0.
No.
No. I think that's such an overplayed card too, that people are like, yeah, if we get his teammate, we're going to get to him. Like, no, he's still a 5-star that's still going to Ohio State, Notre Dame, or Penn State. One of the 3 probably, if I had to guess at this point. Rutgers is there. They're like right there neck and neck with those 4 or those 3 total, but it's interesting. I don't think Basantis goes to Rutgers. I actually think it's between Ohio State or Penn State at this point.
Oof.
But yeah, it's gonna hurt, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
Gotta land one of these Florida kids. And it's to see the receivers though.
Yeah,
they are shooting for the stars, and then it's working so far a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Florida kids, it's all about staying on them. Like you got to keep that pressure, not pressure, but you have to keep recruiting them as hard as you are when they're uncommitted as they are when they are committed. Worked out with Marion Brown, but just we've seen it over the years how many Florida kids just like whatever the wind direction is that day might be the team they're committed to. It's not all of them, but
it's going to be tough
down there.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because Cristobal's down there now, and he's one hell of a recruiter, as we all know.
Yep.
But getting Hakeem Williams up here 3 times in one single year or a 6-month span on his own dime, that's
something there.
The number 61 kid in the country. Like, it's legit. But at the end of the day, you still gotta protect your quarterback, and that's key number 1. That's why you bring in 7 different dudes from 2022. So
for sure. Yeah, it sucks that we're struggling so much on the portal because this is going to be a more prolonged rebuild than we probably would have hoped. Like if we would have gotten like 1 or 2 offensive linemen in this transfer portal, 1 or 2 receivers, like you could make a case for a bowl next year. Like if you have guys that step in and can produce while the young guys can develop.
I still think they still add a receiver. I think they'll add an offensive lineman and receiver. It's just a matter of you can't really focus on all this stuff at once. And I guess the recruiting guys are still probably focusing on that, not like that little stuff on the side, but for the staff in general, like you can't really host people. It's a dead period. So it's more of a waiting game at this point, and we'll see what happens.
What I mean by that is like the level of reciprocated interest seems to be like nothing for what the staff is trying to do right now. Because I think last year being like the first real year of the portal, like a lot of teams were trying to figure it out, like how, this guy entered, we like him, but there might be a better guy. And now they're just realizing like anybody who's decent, just throw him an offer. If you're a big school, like if he could fit into your rotation, whether it be on the offensive defensive line and your wide receiver rotation outside of like quarterback, like any prospect, any transfer portal guy that's decent is getting an offer from big schools.
Yeah. We've talked about this over and over again. The FIU offense is all playing Power 5 now. It's insane. Actually, Tyrese Chambers went back.
I know, like that was surprising.
I couldn't believe
he's really
that.
good.
I was a little shocked. I was like, holy shit, he's gonna do it. But going back to DC a little bit, I know someone tagged me in it recently, and I was kind of intrigued by this one. Matt Barnes, the secondary coach for Ohio State, former special teams. He was assistant secondary when Greg was there and special teams. Now he's full-time secondary. Potential name.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you do have a bit of a surprise for you guys. We have a guest to talk Wake Forest football. It is the publisher of Wake Forest and Duke's rival websites, Conor O'Neil. How's it going, man?
Good, guys. How are you? You all hear me okay?
We can hear you. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So I don't think anybody saw the Gator Bowl playing out this way. We're all happy to be here. How does Wake Forest feel about the whole situation going from Texas A&M to Rutgers? Are they disheartened at all? Or are they just as fired up to play Rutgers as they were Texas A&M?
You know, I think there's a little, just like a tinge of disappointment. It's not an SEC team that beat the number one team in the country that only lost one game. That's a little unavoidable. But it wasn't going to be the same Texas A&M team that did that. They had so many opt-outs, so many transfer portal entries.
Yeah.
That I think put a little bit of a dampen situation into play. I think when it became apparent that Texas A&M was not going to be able to play or was not even going to be able to field the same type of team that they had all year, it became a situation of we just want to play. Like we want to have somebody line up across from us. We want to be able to try to win an 11th game of the year. Wake has won 11 games in a season once, and that was 15 years ago when they won the ACC and went to the Orange Bowl. So once they got an opponent lined up, that was the exciting part of it, and that's really where they're at there.
So Connor, let me ask you this: It's looking at the stats alone, like this offense is beyond phenomenal. Is it really that good to watch in person?
It can get staggered a little bit. You know, maybe I'm a little bit of a prisoner of the last time I saw him, but Pitt really applied the pressure and for 3 quarters basically shut them down. They got up 21-14 in that ACC championship game, and then just the pressure that Pitt was able to apply both with blitzes and then winning one-on-one matchups outside, they really shut it down. And that was really the first time all year that anybody had shut it down for such an extended period of time. It is, when it's firing on all cylinders, I mean, it's pretty explosive. You know, they had a slot receiver last year, Jabari Roberson. He kind of broke out. He had 900 some yards in only 9 games last year. So last year was his breakout. This year was kind of his prove it year. And he had another 1,000 yards. Their breakout receiver this year was A.T. Perry. He was an first team all ACC receiver in his 4th year. And he had kind of been a guy that, you know, we get to watch fall camp and spring practices. He'd have one practice where you're like, oh man, this guy, you know, nothing is going to hold him back. He's able to make these great plays against their starting corners. And then the next 3 practices, you'd almost forget he was out there. He was able to finally put together the consistency that had been missing. And that's why he had more yards, more touchdowns, I think, than Jaquari. The numbers kind of escape me right now, but I think he's relatively close to the single season yards record in Wake Forest history. And he's already got the touchdowns record. So those are the 2 playmakers on the outside for him.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that a little bit, kind of sticking with the offense. It's clear as day that Hartman's pretty good. The wide receiver core you just talked about is pretty good. The running backs look pretty solid based on the numbers. Nothing crazy there. But is this offensive line going to be able to hold? Because I know we kind of went back and forth with it. When they go against an aggressive defense, it's a little bit different for them.
They do. the one thing over the last few years that you could point to and say is this offense's kryptonite. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It's a nice day down here, so I've got the windows open, and
I'm
that
jealous.
means that he can see everything.
No worries.
Yeah,
It's gross here.
he's clearly not a fan of the offensive line.
But yeah, the kryptonite of this offense is physical play. If you can line up and kind of win the point of attack against them,
Mhm.
and you're going to do that against an offensive line, obviously, you can stifle that slow mesh. You can disrupt the 2 to 3 second decision making that goes into it. The offensive line has been good this year. I think it's worn down a little bit as the season has gone on. They have at least one future NFL player on there. Zach Tom, the left tackle, will be a draft pick. He's still undecided if he's going to come out this year or come back and leave next year, but he's put on enough tape that he'll be probably a day 2 or early day 3 pick. It's always a catch-22 with Wake's offensive line. So they have this offense that they want to run 70, 80, 90 plays a game. And so they can't go out and get the 320 and 330 pound offensive linemen, because those guys are going to be, dog tired at the end of games, in the third quarters even. So they have to kind of get their recruiting bread and butter is with these offensive linemen that were multi-sport guys and might have been a baseball player, might have been a basketball player, and are 250, 260, 270 coming out of high school, and they get them and put them in the incubator basically for 2 years. But they're only getting up to like 300 pounds. So they're going to be physical, but they're going to be physical to the extent that you can be physical when you're only about 300 pounds. So that's where I think they can be beat. They can be, pushed around a little bit when they've played the more aggressive fronts. And that's what I was talking about early when the dog was barking. That's the kryptonite.
I did want to talk kind of about the incubator you guys have going there, because Shiano had mentioned that he's close personal friends with Clausen, and Clausen kind of did what at Wake Forest, what Shiano is trying to do again at Rutgers, where he's taking a program that has struggled in a tough conference and really raised the level of expectations up to above average output each year. So what has Clausen done differently than coaches like Jim Grobe had a couple good years, Jim Caldwell had a couple good years, but they weren't able to sustain the success like Clausen has? What makes Clausen different than his predecessors in that sense?
I think the biggest thing at this point to me is sticking with the system that works. Jim Grobe had a really great 3-year stretch from 2006 to 2008. I don't know if Jim would admit this or not, but I think people that have been around Wake would tell you he started getting a little lazy in recruiting. And so that hasn't happened with Dave yet. They're not beating Carolina for every recruit in the state of North Carolina. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to beat NC State for guys that they want all the time. You can beat them some of the time, but you're not winning the majority of recruiting battles against them. So what you got to do is you got to target the guys, like I was talking about the offensive line. You got to target the projectable guys that you're going to be able to get into the program. You're going to be honest with them and tell them that, first year or two, you're probably not going to see the field that much. And the transfer portal is going to really test how sustainable this thing is. But so far it has been sustainable. They get these guys in, and, whereas a Clemson brings in a 4-star or 5-star and is playing them immediately, Wake is bringing in a 3rd-year guy that, people outside of the Wake community haven't heard of, but is all of a sudden coming in and is a legitimate ACC player and making an impact and beating some of those 4- and 5-star guys in one-on-one matchups. And that's where I think it's really important that they stick with the formula. The formula is going to lead them to a couple more 4 stars here and there. I don't know if Wake is ever going to be in the position to get a 5-star. Like, that just might not be attainable. But they're realistic in that. And you know, it works.
Hey Connor, going back to the offense real quick. Yesterday, Coach Yano for Rutgers was talking about how good Wake Forest was in the RPO game. What have you seen in that area in terms of the RPO, and how is it effective?
It's all about the decision maker for me, and Sam Hartman in his 4th year is just so good in that system. Again, you try not to be a prisoner of the last time you saw it, and the last time he was out there, he had 4 interceptions against Pitt. But when you look at the total picture, his season is probably the best season that a Wake quarterback has ever had. More touchdown passes, more yards. The interceptions are a little high, but some of those interceptions came from just trying to make a play when their offense was struggling a little bit. And so the slow mesh is really unique. And to be unique like that, you have to have a quarterback who is calm under pressure, is not going to rush into decisions. Sam did kind of rush into decisions back in 2018 when he was a true freshman starter, and he lost a starting job. He was able to get it back. He's really grown up over 4 years. He's going to be back next year, and so you'd expect kind of to not miss much of a beat. I mean, their offense looks like it'll be mostly returning intact. So he's really the straw that stirs the drink there. It's been fun to watch him grow up and to watch him go from making some freshman mistakes to, playing a near flawless game against Army and they scored 70 points and beating NC State when he didn't have a very good game, but still threw for 300 some yards and 3 touchdowns, or maybe 290, something like that. Mm-hmm. That's been really impressive.
Is that slow mesh something that that Hartman himself brought to the team, or is that something that Ruggiero, your OC, is done with a lot of quarterbacks like that? I've never seen anything like that. That's why it's just so weird to see him throw a pass, hold it to basically an inch before the line and then throw it.
Yeah, no, that's a Warren Ruggiero creation experiment that has gone right. I mean, Warren Ruggiero is a mad scientist, and him and Dave Clawson have worked together for this is I think this is either their 12th or 13th season together. He came to Bowling Green when Dave went there, and Dave was there for 5 years. I mean, it's unique. That word gets thrown around a lot, and sometimes it doesn't have as much meaning, but it really holds here. I mean, nobody else does this. It's something that they've truly worked at. It took growing pains. The first 2 years that Clawson was at Wake Forest, their offense was abysmal. Even their breakthrough year to get to a bowl game at 7-6 in the 2016 season, their offense was pretty bad. Their defense, they had that was Mike Elko's last year as defensive coordinator, and their defense was the stronger unit that year. And then in 2017, everything kind of switched, and their offense has been this dynamic force of nature since that season, and really since the second half of that season. And that's where the slow mesh has really kind of taken off.
So, Connor, I want to talk a little bit about the connections between Rutgers and Wake Forest. We all know, Greg already mentioned it, about how he's friends with Dave Clawson, but you guys also have Dave Cohen on staff. What can you tell me about him? I know, obviously, during his tenure here, it wasn't too pretty, but it seems like he's turned it around a bit.
Yeah, I love Dave Cohen. I love talking to Dave Cohen. Mm-hmm. He is such a no-nonsense defensive line coach that he almost fits the stereotypes too perfectly. You'll go up to him after a spring practice and be like, "Hey, this redshirt freshman really looks like he's going to be able to contribute. Like he was winning a lot of one-on-ones, and Dave will just look at you and go like, "It's the spring, Connor. You know, this doesn't matter. We'll see where he is, we'll see where he is in August." I'll be like, "All right, that's fair enough."
Fair point.
Yeah, Dave is very much tough love. I love to kind of compare and contrast his coaching style with wide receivers coach Kevin Higgins. They're both kind of the coaches on staff with Clausen that, I think they both have assistant coach in their titles. They were both lower level head coaches, Dave at Hofstra, Kevin Higgins at the Citadel. And they're kind of, I think of them as the right and left hands for Dave Clausen. Higgins' coaching style is just all love. It is all positive reinforcement. It is, hey, okay, you got that drop, but you're going to catch the next 5. And Dave Cohen is very much like, hey, great play, you got a sack, but what are you going to do on the next 3 plays? Are you just going to take off? So, and you can, their defensive line this year, they've had some success stories. They've had some, I think, underachievers that I think they've been a little disappointed with. But you can always count on they're going to have some developmental pieces in holes that you think are there, and they're not going to be as big of holes. Like last year, they lose Boogie Basham. He's a 2nd-round pick. He's playing significant snaps for the Bills right now. And you think, man, that's a big loss. They've had Rondell Bothroyd play. I'm not going to say he's played to the level that Boogie played with for 2 seasons, basically. Rondell Bothroyd's been a really, really good defensive end. He's gotten a lot of pressure. He's created turnovers. He had one, he intercepted a lateral against Clemson that there was a huge play in that game. He's played really well. And that was something that, he's filling in for an NFL player. And he was right there ready to pick it up because of Dave's mentorship and kind of how he's been brought along.
And then the other guy, I don't know if you had any interactions with him yet, Kevin Schneider. I know we just brought him over this past offseason, I believe. I know he's a grad assistant. I don't know if you could tell us anything about him. Obviously, former Rutgers player, all Big Ten, all Big East, I believe.
Yeah, he's not one that I've had the pleasure of interacting with yet. The grad assistants kind of aren't on the radar until you get to see them really work hands-on with players.
Gotcha. The other connection I really, really want to talk about, not so much Rutgers, it's more New Jersey and Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest has 9-10 guys from Jersey on their team right now. A couple of key contributors on defense, Chase Jones, Jasir Taylor. What can you tell me about the little connection they're kind of building, or a little pipeline, I guess you could call it?
Yeah, so I did a story when Wake went up to play in the Pinstripe Bowl 2 years ago about how, and the Northeast is just criminally underrated when it comes to how people down here see high school football. Like everybody down in the South just thinks that the South plays high school football different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I'm from Maryland, so I'm a little bit of neutral territory there. And I it was a story that I really wanted to do because, there were guys on Wake's team to make the point. I didn't have to try hard to drive that point home. But yeah, Clausen is from the Buffalo area and went to Williams College in Massachusetts. I mean, he's familiar with the area. They've got Dave Cohen on staff. Trying to think who else would have some Northeast connection. Oh, Warren Ruggiero spent some time coaching in the Northeast. They're not one of these staffs that is just going to limit themselves to, we've got to recruit Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. Because they're not going to limit themselves in that regard. And I mean, Jasir Taylor has been such a great pickup for them. Chase Jones has been a really good pickup for them. I think they like, if I'm not mistaken, Christian Forbes is from the New Jersey area.
Yeah.
He's an offensive lineman coming along.
Yeah, I know
his dad played for Rutgers.
His dad played for Rutgers, so that was an interesting one that Rutgers didn't really pursue it as much. But I like the kid. I thought he was decent. We'll see what happens, but I think then even Donald Stewart's from New Jersey and he was a phenomenal receiver, and he's not even, I don't even think a top 3 receiver for Wake Forest.
No,
Yeah, he would. I mean, he's kind of been a backup and been a reliable backup all year.
Yeah.
He's been very dependable, and I think that connection had been established with Kevin Higgins in the initial recruitment when he was coming out of high school.
Mhm.
So then when he entered the transfer portal out of Stanford, it was a pretty seamless re-recruitment, like 4 years later.
Yeah, interesting.
So we've talked a lot about offense so far. Your defense has some bad numbers to them. They're 94th in points scored. They're 98th in yards allowed. Are they as bad as their numbers indicate, or is the offense just so good that they spend a lot of time on the field and kind of have numbers racked up against them?
So some games they have been that bad, and other games they have not been nearly as bad as the numbers would indicate. They defended Virginia probably better than anybody else in the country other than Notre Dame. And I think that Notre Dame game they played without Brennan Armstrong, so that was a bit of a different Virginia offense. Their defense was maddeningly, I think I said that right, inconsistent this year. It's just they started out decent. Like, they played a really good game against Florida State. They played a really good game against Virginia. They had 2 so-so, they made enough stops against Louisville and Syracuse that they were able to win. Then the last half of the year, it just ping-ponged between abysmal and pretty decent. The Army game was just a abject failure in every sense. I mean, they not only had the extra week to prepare for that, they had been installing a defense to defend Army throughout the entire first half of the season. And they got out there and I think they got like 1 or 2 legitimate stops. And one of them was a pick 6 on a basically fake pooch kick. The North Carolina game, they got worn down. The same thing happened to them last year, so that's a really sore subject when you talk about UNC, because they basically played the same game 2 years in a row against that team, and that's a meaningful rivalry to Wake Forest fans and players. Just when your offense has a long drive and it's still only 3.5 minutes, and your defense is back on the field, it's going to wear you down in some games, and that's what happened in the North Carolina game. The Clemson game, they actually played decent. They got victimized by turnovers that put them in bad spots. The Pitt game, they actually played pretty decent. Like, they didn't even give up 400 yards to Pitt. They gave up a pick 6. Another one of the Sam Hartman interceptions put Pitt inside the 5. They had a punt return that put Pitt at the 30. I guess they've got good individual talent. They've had some games where they've really been a good defense. Maybe 1 or 2, or you could even say they had a great defensive game. But man, in other games, when the wheels have come off, it's just there's no saving it. It's just, all right, hold on for dear life and hope the offense scores every time they touch the ball.
What have they struggled with most? Has it been the run game, the pass game, mobile quarterbacks? What has been their kryptonite this year on defense?
I'll take 2 of those. I'll take the run game and mobile quarterbacks. Malik Cunningham and Garrett Schrader shredded them running the ball. Running games, I mean, their 2 losses before the Pitt game, the UNC game and Clemson games, they gave up 330 and 333 yards on the ground. In 2 of their wins, they gave up more yards than that. They gave up 419 to Army. And Army's going to run the ball, but Army doesn't run the ball for 419 on people. Like that was even high for them. And the Syracuse game, they give up 354 on the ground. They get worn down, they don't fill gaps, and they don't get off blocks as often as they should. And they can give up some rushing yards in a hurry.
Yeah, that was our one common opponent this year, Syracuse. We both played at the Dome. Our game was disgusting. I think it was 17-10, and there was very little scoring in that one. But yeah, Richie, what were you going to say?
No, that's spot on. That's exactly what I was going to ask about Syracuse, just because that's the only common one. But yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there. That was one ugly game. But then again, you look at Wake Forest and Syracuse. What was it, 37-34, something like that?
Yeah, it was their overtime win. Yeah. That was one of those games where, you know, the defense gave up touchdowns on 3 of Syracuse's first 4 possessions and then really locked it down. Like, I think in the middle half of that game, Wake's defense might have given up 1 or 2 scores in a span of like 7 or 8 possessions. And then it was just a matter of they got worn down and gave up this awful, like, 5-play, 90-yard drive that tied the game and sent it to overtime in the last minute. And the last play was like a little middle dump off to Sean Tucker, and he ended up he ran literally straight down the field and might have broken 1 or 2 tackles for like a 30-yard catch and run to tie the game. And it was kind of precarious. Syracuse was going to go for the win and go for the 2-point conversion, and then false started. So they had to kick the extra point, and Dino did not want to kick the extra point. It was either a false start or delay a game because he took so long to make the decision. But that was going to be decided in regulation until the penalty.
Brutal.
I mean, I think we've talked just about everything. If you guys have any others, I'm out.
So the line on this game has grown from 12.5, I believe, when it opened. And I just checked before we started talking, and it's now 15.5, which, yeah, obviously not good. There was Richie, you put something up that the lines were like -3.
I don't want to talk about it. You know what?
Yeah,
Vegas Insider was wrong. It was like 4.5, then it was 12.5, and it was 10, and it was 9. I gave up after like.
My theory was that they changed the opponent in name, but didn't actually update the lines. But anyway.
Now, mind you, I know a couple people that did get it at 4, so don't blame me.
Did you really?
They got it. They snagged it at 4 when it immediately changed, and I guess
that's
which
awesome.
Is crazy to say because you think Vegas would be on top of that shit, but whatever.
Yeah,
go win some money.
So Connor, what's your prediction for how this game's going to go?
You know, I thought about this last week, and I'm like, I try really hard not to be a homer. Like, I have no affiliation with Wake Forest. I just cover them. It's hard for me to see this game being within 2 touchdowns if Wake plays the way that they've played for the majority of the season. I mean, this is a team that was entertaining playoff dreams in November. Like, they were in the top 10 of the first CFP rankings. It's the pull that I have that kind of makes me think that this will be a close game and we'll have a decent competitive game here is that, you know, Wake's last 2 bowl games have been against Big Ten teams that weren't exactly the most impressive on paper. And those teams came out and physically pushed Wake around a little bit and won. Last year's game against Wisconsin was, you know, it was a close game. It was back and forth. We didn't think Wisconsin's offense was anything special, and Graham Mertz came out and throwing the ball all over the place. And the game really swung on an awful 4-interception string from Sam Hartman between the 3rd and 4th quarters. The year before, I mean, that Michigan State team was 6-6, not anything all that special to write home about. And they came out in the Pinstripe Bowl and really, for the last 2.5 quarters, shut out Wake's offense. I'd like to think that we'll get a competitive game. Wake doesn't play low-scoring games, so Rutgers offense is going to have to move the ball, it feels like, at least a little bit. which can be done against Wake's defense. Like Wake's defense is not, I don't know that they're capable of putting up a shutout. They really only did that once this year, and that was against Duke. And that's the Duke team that was in pretty good turmoil at that point. I don't know. I guess I'm hoping for a close game. Like, right, you don't want to have some 45-10 game. Yeah.
You might.
Which I could
with
very
Rutgers
easily
offense,
see
though.
this turning
It's
into.
very
yeah.
easily. It could be easily done. Yeah, for sure.
Before we get too off topic, I got to ask you this. What do you think of Graham Mertz? Because I think
Before we
he
get to all
sucks.
Oh man.
We get into this just about every week when we do our predictions throughout the Big Ten, and I just think he flat out sucks. Got overpaid before the season for nothing, and that's why NIL is screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, he made some decent throws against Wake in that bowl game. I've got to admit, I didn't pay much attention to Wisconsin this year. Like,
No, I'm just going based off that one
Played
game
an
against
AT.
Wake. Just so we can, I like to backtrack and go back and just say he kind of sucks. And I'm like the president of the Graham Mertz Hate Club. So, a notable quote for you so I can put it on the wall. I'm telling you, he sucks, but you don't have to go too in depth.
Yeah, I mean, he was somewhere between decent and okay.
There we go. That's all I wanted to hear. That's
in
perfect.
the Mayo Bowl.
Decent /
Mayo Bowl.
okay / Conor O'Neil.
The Mayo Bowl, they got some great social media people working for them. Like I saw some awesome tweet that they're gonna Mayo board the winning coach instead of waterboard. They're gonna Mayo. That's probably one of the worst ways you could possibly go, is being drowned to death in mayonnaise. But
I've met the guy who runs the Twitter account for that bowl. I think he kind of prefers to remain relatively anonymous. Like, it's not like he had a mask on or anything, but he's a good dude. Yeah, they do a really good job with that bowl.
I got to give the Tax Sawyer Bowl credit too. They're pretty active in terms of social media and like following the trends with like the little TikToks and shit like that. But
yeah,
I give them credit. So
Cool.
That's all I got. I'm out.
Richie, Chris, you guys want to give a prediction for how this game's gonna go?
Chris, you go first.
All right. So I'm kind of hoping that it is a close game, like Connor was talking about, but I could see it just being a blowout. I mean, I don't know what kind of. I mean, Rutgers, hasn't practiced, the way Wake Forest has practiced in the last month. They were home for the holidays. They were working out, but they didn't practice until Sunday. And Shanna said, they were sore just from like a little practice. So, I mean, they do have some guys coming back, as we talked to a little bit earlier on this podcast, but Rutgers really struggles, scoring the ball. The defense, not sure how it's going to look, overall. So I'm going to go something like a 35-13 game, possibly something like that.
You think they score 13?
I do.
Wow.
Well, I've got to interject here as we have some breaking news that Ja'Cory Roberson has opted out.
Wow.
Ooh, Connor, if you have to leave,
Wow.
I understand if you want to bolt out of here and write up whatever you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got to roll and going to the NFL, which was kind of expected. It was just kind of a question of whether he was going to play in the bowl or not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have more weapons, so I'm not too concerned. But if you have to run real quick, go for it. Like, just feel free to jump out of here and.
Let me tap out. This has been a pleasure. It's been fun.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Connor.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
See you, man. Yeah, so for Rutgers fans, Ja'Cory Roberson was their number 2 receiver this year, and number 2 is kind of an understatement because he had over 1,000 yards. He led the team in receptions. He, as Connor referenced, he was the guy who broke out last year out of the slot for them. Huge loss for Wake. Wow, that's surprising.
Hey, and it's a good thing I didn't do my simulation yet, like I was going to do this morning. I waited until the afternoon, and there you go.
I'm just surprised they wait till this long. Like in the middle of this, Penn State had a guy opt out too, and it's just like, why are you?
Well, Penn State's been getting decimated this week. Dotson,
Their
Brisker,
defense
who
is
else?
Fucked. Their
Who
two
else did they opt
linebackers,
out?
Brooks and who's the other one? I forget, 2 linebackers, 2 DBs, or 2 linebackers, 1 DB, 1 wide receiver, and now a defensive tackle in Ebiketie. So it's
Ebiketie, damn. That was
yeah.
probably their best defensive lineman this year.
Yeah, they have their best defensive lineman, 2 starting linebackers, probably their best DB and Brisker, and then Jahan Dotson, who's their entire offense. So
you hate to see it.
Yeah,
I really do.
I mean, I can't comment. I gotta be careful.
You hat Richie can't comment, but I can comment.
So
go F yourself, Penn State. Kindly.
So now this prediction.
Yeah.
This team, this Wake Forest team, their defense is bad, but it's not as bad as Maryland bad. And we saw how bad the Maryland Rutgers game was. Their offense is better than Maryland's offense. Based on simple logic, minus their number 2 receiver, it's still going to be like a 41-10 game. I wanted to say 13, but I just made fun of Chris for giving them 13 points. No, I think they're going to get blown the hell out. It's going to be ugly. They have 3 different running backs. It's basically a running back by committee. Sam Hartman's got 36 touchdowns. I don't know the last time a Rutgers quarterback has sniffed 20 touchdowns in a season, let alone 30.
Probably Mike Teal.
I would think so, right?
Maybe Gary Nova. I think Gary Nova had 1 year where he had 20.
Yeah. He had that really good year when Friedgen was here, right? Yeah.
And so Gary Nova had 22 touchdowns twice, actually.
Interesting. That's
but his senior season was much better. He had,
a lot of people hate on him, but he had one hell of a career for Rutgers.
I remember saying after Nova left, like a lot of fans, like you said, hated Nova, but they haven't been nearly good at the quarterback position.
It's the 6 interception Kent State game. It's the 5 interception, whatever game that was.
The Virginia Tech game. It's the Penn State game. He just shit his pants over and over in situations that weren't cushy.
Yeah.
And you see some games like the Arkansas game, you're like, holy shit, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's like, all right, he's got talent. It's just you can't put it together. But
it's the Louisville game too. He had some really brutal interceptions when we were going for the Orange Bowl that year.
I'm going to say it. I blame the offensive coordinator turnaround. Because if he had Fridge for 3-4 years, it's like, you never know. But this is going to be an ugly game. I think on Friday. Yeah.
Friday.
Can't even remember anymore.
It is weird that it is on Friday. Like I keep getting confused.
And 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Yeah.
What? Who the hell? And there's no other games on. Bump it down to 12.
Yeah. Well, I know they wanted to finish before the college football playoff game started.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens there. People are speculating on the boards. I see that Rutgers is going to be the college football playoff champ now at this point. If like 8 more teams back out, Rutgers has a shot at it. I'm like, stop it. Are you kidding me? They're just not going to give it away. But I want to say like 41-10 around there. Running back by committee is pretty good. They could just keep switching if they really wanted to. Hartman's very good. Like I said before, Donald Stewart, who I thought was phenomenal in high school at Paramus Catholic, Stanford, is there like number 4 or 5 receiver, Connor just said, and he's really good.
Yeah, he'll probably step up now.
Yeah, adding the fact that Rutgers is probably missing guys. You don't see Bo on. He's somewhere on Instagram. I don't know where the fuck he's at. You see in the background, it looks maybe it's Florida for all we know. Who knows? It's just I don't know. He's definitely not with the team in the Instagram post. So.
He was in sweatpants. Speculate on that what you will.
Oh, and that you know what that means. That means
what color sweatpants?
They weren't red. They were not red.
Yeah,
sitting on the couch watching the bowl.
There you go.
But add him. We don't know where the hell Pacheco is. Like, is he going to be there? Is he not? We don't know. He hasn't posted much. I know, like Mike said, like I've been following it too on Instagram just to see who's there and who's not. And there's some names that are there. Hamilton back's good. Turner back's good. Singleton kind of had a little bit of a bright spot end of the season we talked about. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see this one happening. Plus, you have 4 fucking practices.
Yeah. I think the only things that are giving me some hope are they did struggle with Syracuse, which we also beat. We didn't struggle with them nearly as much as they struggled with them.
Yeah.
He did mention that when they faced Big Ten teams in the past in bowl games, they struggled with the physicality of Big Ten teams. If we somehow are able to win up front, which I'm not confident in, but say we figure out a game plan to put pressure on Hartman. He's had these just complete meltdown games. They've lost 2 of their last 5 games, or they've lost, they've lost 3 of their last 5 games after starting 8-0. They totally collapsed in the ACC championship game against Pittsburgh. if we can really make this game ugly, put pressure on Sam Hartman, he just lost his favorite target in Jacory Roberson right before the game. I could see this game being close, but it's going to need to be like one of those games where we essentially turn our offense into like a triple option and just like run Johnny Langan a lot. Just hope Noah doesn't get his head torn off running him. We really need to like turn this game into something ugly, like similar to how like remember the 2018 Super Bowl where the Rams and the Patriots played and the Rams had like one of the best offenses of all time and it was a 13-3 game. That's like the kind of thing we're going to need to do is just turn it so ugly that it's almost unwatchable. Yeah, and I don't know if we can do that. I
mentioned last week it could be a Johnny Langan game. So I mean, it's right on par with what you're talking about. You know, you never know. I mean, the key for Rutgers, and Conor mentioned earlier too that they did struggle up front in terms of, you know, stopping blitzes and everything like that. You know, Shiano's going to be aggressive there. So who knows? I mean, the four practice thing, you know, it's super tough to, you know, like
who knows who's
like
even
you just
playing
don't know,
this game.
you know.
Yeah. Now I don't want to compare Garrett Schrader, the backup quarterback / starter / whatever you want to call him for Syracuse, to Johnny Langan because he's a better passer. But he ran 29 times for 178 yards against Wake Forest.
Yeah, they're beatable on the ground.
Fuck it. If you're not going to play Wimsatt, just throw Johnny out there and just have nuns call the offense at that point.
I want to see packages with next year with Wimsatt lined up at quarterback and Langan in the backfield. Like hand it off to him, throw it to him. Langan could drop back and off like a pitch and throw it. Like there's some really interesting, cool things we could do in that scenario. Obviously, you don't want Johnny throwing it much, but the threat of him being able to throw it down the field is something that makes defenses kind of have to take account for that.
It kind of goes back to Gleason's Princeton days, and it's like run 3 quarterbacks. If they're all athletic enough, fuck it. There's Langan. There's who else is it? Run Rashad Rochelle out there with Langan and Gavin out there. It'd be interesting. You can have some fun with it.
Sure.
They're definitely gonna have to be creative in this game to score. And you need to score. I don't think that's any secret. This team's nuts. They're putting up 40+ a game.
Fifth national, I think it was, right? It's like 42 points, 41 points a game. So
like some of the games were close, but like 40 or 35 against Florida State, 37 against Virginia, 37 against Louisville. Like it's consistent.
Yep.
45 against a Duke team that sucked. 55 in a loss against UNC. Like, do we think Rutgers is even putting up 25?
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? I was thinking that, you know, 13 maybe too high, especially if you don't have Bo, if you don't have Pacheco. Maybe you don't know, I mean, who's going to play running back other than, you know, Aaron Young at this point. So
yeah, because Monangai missed the last game.
Monangai was banged up. Collins was banged up. So
didn't Collins tweet something though?
That I don't recall seeing. I just remember him being hurt at the end of the season.
And then you're in Florida, like these kids gonna sling the rock. And the last time, I was trying to figure out the last time Noah Vedral started in Florida, went 10 of 12 for 79 yards. That might be his highest of the season if that was for Rutgers this year.
Were you the one who asked Noah the other day about
the bowl game? He never
won the other games. Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't me, but I heard someone ask, and I asked the SID before. I asked Haas before. I'm like, has he been to a bowl? Because I think he transferred technically before he got to one.
I remember asking. This was a couple weeks ago when Rutgers got to 5 wins.
Yeah.
When he was a freshman at UCF, they went to the Peach Bowl.
Did he not transfer before that?
No, he was on the team. He didn't play, but he was on the team when they went. Yeah.
Interesting.
Man, what an interesting career he's had. Like between all the transferring to being on Nebraska's Big Ten tournament basketball team for that one game. Remember that?
Yeah.
To coming to Rutgers and starting and like.
Yeah, he was on the undefeated UCF team. So a couple years. That was done.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen though. Like I said, I'm still cautious about this bowl game, just because all the cancellations. I'm looking now. Look at that, Taquan Roberson to UConn. Not that Rutgers was going to pursue, but definitely interesting. Sounds like the Riot Squad is getting the gang together for the bowl game. They're going to head down. I think it's going to be a bigger record contingent than people think, considering it's very last minute and all that. But.
There's a lot of Rutgers fans in Florida in general.
Yeah, a lot of New Jersey people in Florida. So
yeah, I know they have that Tampa club. I just don't know if they're gonna all drive or not. Like I know it's pretty close, relatively considering. They're pretty popular. They have like a group of like 25 to 30 that just show up for this little bar every game that they tag us in on Instagram. Yeah, I don't know. I think this. I'm not optimistic about the game, but in general, I do think it's going to be fun for the fans at least.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is going. They just moved to North Carolina, so it's not. So it's like halfway, I guess. So
Yeah, it's
it's
not the
only
worst.
about 6 hour drive for them.
So I mean, that's all we got to talk about, right?
Yeah.
The team we could talk a little hoops if you really want, but they're just I
Yeah.
don't know. It's all
Yeah.
you just posted something, Chris, an update, right?
Yeah, we got an email as we're recording this that they're moving all the interviews and press conferences, Zoom or WebEx from
Whatever it is.
from this time on. So yep, back to that.
Are we convinced they're gonna play? I don't even know anymore because after covering Penn State, they had an interview yesterday with the head coach. The other team backed out because COVID. And it's like, all right, here we go again.
Gotcha. Yeah, they play what, Saturday?
Saturday. Yeah, CCSU is first or Maine's first. One of the two's first. I don't remember. Anymore.
I haven't covered a game in a long time.
When's the last time they even played? It's like what,
I don't. I'm gonna check right now.
Last time they played was Seton Hall.
Okay. Oh, you know what? They play on Thursday. They play Maine on Thursday.
All right. It is.
Yeah.
Maine, yes. And then CCSU is the second or first. I don't.
That's the first. Yeah.
I would just assume that the next game for sure that's going to happen is that Michigan game.
Yep.
These conference games they can't back out of. They're going to happen, whether it be to an empty gym or what. But
I probably would have canceled both those games and just said screw it. We'll wait till
I would have too. I wouldn't even bother trying to reschedule.
I'm gonna play Maine. That's 3 wins. Conference or Central Connecticut's 3 wins. It's like screw it. We're just going to conference play. We're done.
They really need to rack up easy wins in the out of conference schedule this year. And given that a few of these got canceled, they really kind of shot themselves in the foot with how they started the season.
I hate to be like Mr. Negative over here, but they're not making the tournament at this point. It's over. Sure. I hate to say it. Unless you somehow go what? How many conference games are there left?
15, the majority of them. So
yeah.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Unless you're winning 13 of them, 14 maybe. You have to win 14 of those games just to get considered. You know what? Now 14 probably does it. 14-4 or 14-6, I guess. Because the two, I hate this stupid early conference schedule. Get rid of that.
Yeah, it gets confusing, and then you play like a bunch of non-conference after that.
Oh no, they beat Purdue actually, so it wouldn't be 14-6.
Yeah. Somehow they beat Purdue. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that one.
That was
why you were in the stands for that one, Richie. It was a really great experience.
Relax.
Yeah, I was on the road. I missed that one too.
If you look at the numbers, it just makes no fucking sense. I don't know how they pulled that one off. But so what did I say? 14, 15, 16. So yeah, I guess 14 wins probably does it. It's going to be so tough though. This conference is ridiculous. 10-win Minnesota, 10-win Michigan State, 11-win Purdue again.
Yeah.
10-win Indiana, 9-win Iowa, 9-win Wisconsin, 8-2 Ohio State, 8-2 Northwestern, who I don't think anyone saw that one coming. Yeah, I don't know. I hate to be that negative guy, but it's just,
like you said, man. They shot themselves in the foot. They had a big lead against UMass. There a couple of the early games that they won were just bad. Too, and there was. Yeah, I think they had maybe too much Kool-Aid at the beginning of the year. So.
yeah, those scrimmages, man, they get to you. But the cool thing is wrestling's back. They're doing that open. I don't know if you guys saw they just released this pre-seeds. The seeds are interesting considering who. I guess it's not the biggest event anymore. The Midlands, Matman, whatever you want to call it. Shawver's a 1 seed. Rivera's a 1 seed.
Really? Shawver being a 1 seed is borderline shocking.
So it's kind of telling me there's not that many good people here. But Alvarez is a 3 seed.
Is Paz a 1 seed?
Paz and Van Brill are not competing.
Okay.
Which is interesting. But White is going to be the number. He's going to wrestle unattached. He's the number 6 in 149. Kennard, number 5. Turley's the number 1 at 174, which was interesting.
That makes sense.
Bolsack, however you say it, number 2 at 197, and then Boone McDermott's number 4 at heavyweight. So, I mean, there's opportunities for these guys to get a couple wins under their belt, and if White can impress a little more, it's gonna be so hard to keep him out of that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Is Peterson wrestling unattached? Because I know
No,
this was the targeted date for him for a while.
It says the only unattached is White. Based
Is
on
Peterson wrestling then? The freshman?
I don't see it. No, Peterson's not gonna wrestle.
Okay.
Competing unattached would be White and Oliveri's gonna wrestle at 133.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's Army, Bloomsburg, partial, Bloomsburg, whatever. Brown, Bucknell, Cal Poly, Campbell. They got a lot of teams. Holy shit. Franklin and Marshall, Harvard, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan partial, North Carolina partial, Northern Illinois, Northern Iowa, Oregon State partial, Penn, Pitt, Princeton, Purdue, Rider, Rutgers, Virginia, and Wisconsin. It's actually a decent little field considering these guys are ranked pretty goddamn high.
Is JoJo immediately eligible for Campbell? Because that's where he ended up.
That's where he ended up.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Maybe.
I just wasn't sure if you saw him listed.
No, I was looking at the Rutgers field. I wasn't really looking at the he wasn't it's just Rutgers press release. I didn't really look at Campbell's.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you were looking at
if he wrestled. That'd be interesting for him.
Yeah.
I guess you transfers are immediately eligible, right?
That's the transfer rules have changed so much in the last few years that I never know anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you get one time, immediate eligible, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to find it real quick before we sign off, but I literally can't find anything. These guys got a hell of a lot more followers. When I saw it the other day, they had 2,000 followers. Now they're up to 7.3, 7.2.
Talking about Matt Men?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see all this because now you're getting some big names in there. Maybe this just becomes the new Midlands. Maybe just get rid of the Midlands.
Yeah, maybe they do a partnership or something because that was a very prestigious tournament. I can't imagine it going away if they still want to hold it.
No, it's so stupid they canceled it because just now someone else is going to have it. It's all right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. So I guess that's all we got, right? Pretty much. That's it.
Yeah, we'll probably do another pod next week. Hopefully, we'll have some good news from the Matt Men Open to talk about. Hopefully, we have a basketball game to talk about. We'll obviously cover the bowl, new DC, we got transfer portal stuff.
Another assistant coach.
Maybe
more than one.
Ooh,
that's some juicy tea we got here. But appreciate you guys coming on and listening. Thanks again to Conor O'Neil from Deacons Illustrated, the Wake Forest Rivals site. Thanks again to Richie and Chris. You guys got anything final you want to say before we head off?
No. No. Yeah. That was horrible. That was horrible.
You don't want to shout out your new ring light or anything like that?
Yeah. So I got a new ring light for Christmas. So it's why I got this side of me is all lit up this time. Normally it's just this side from the light. Yeah. So
we
shout out to the sister for that one.
Yeah, we did start a new TikTok for Rutgers Rivals. So Chris, as soon as you want to use that ring light with the little halo thing, let me know and we'll throw you on there.
Like I said, I've never been on there. I don't plan to. So
hey, I'm just saying, if you want to start it up, that could get us some views real quick and some follows. Come on.
It's funny. Like I texted you about it. My brother-in-law literally said the same exact thing to me about that.
Like the corner. Do you know what I'm talking about, Mike? The stupid halo, So,
yeah.
All right, you're good with that. You're good with editing. I want you to throw that in at the end of the pod. Just cut and then music.
You want to hear the
Halo song.
TikTok edit of it?
Whatever.
Where it gets all busted out and broken.
And people could picture Chris with the halo.
All right.
Yeah, no, I got nothing. Like I said, the only interesting name I kind of thought about recently with DC was Matt Barnes. Yeah, Ohio State guy, just sounds like he's getting let go. Someone tagged me in it recently. Worked with Shiano. Other than that, yeah, let's see what happens on Friday. Friday. No, I am. Jesus Christ, I gotta stop.
Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Yeah. Not confident. Not optimistic. But who knows? Maybe these young guys just come out and fucking ball out, and maybe Vedral throws for 100 yards.
Sure. I mean, the team has new life. I mean, 2 weeks ago, they were just planning on doing finals, going for Christmas, and then coming back for workouts in the winter. So who knows? Maybe they got some extra juice, like you said, and who knows? Maybe they come out on fire and win this game here.
Believe it or not, Vedral has thrown for 100
know.
plus yards in the first 8 games. That it was just the last 4. It was just a very long November.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. We're gonna see leading rusher is gonna be someone that we've never seen before. I'm gonna make a couple real quick.
Okay.
Leading rusher, someone that hasn't led the team at all this season in rushing yards. It's a bold one. Leading receiver.
Okay.
I think Shameem Jones goes for 100. I think he's gonna impress, and people are gonna be like, "Holy shit, we don't need a transfer anymore." You still need a transfer. It's not the point, but I think he'll impress. And then let's see, defense. I think Julius Turner has a fucking game.
I think Julius Turner shows out too.
I think between him and if Miser plays, like they have like 2 legitimate guys in the middle who can get pressure. And if we can get pressure, especially on those extended mesh plays, like those you can't really do with inside pressure. So we'll see how that goes. I think here's my bold prediction: Isaiah Washington in front of his borderline hometown stadium has a game. I mean, we were all so hyped after that video from the spring game came out where he had that one-handed touchdown along the sideline. Like, I don't know what happened with him throughout the season. I don't know why he's not playing more, but I think he goes for 100 and a touchdown in this game.
You know what? Talking about that reminds me of Dave Cohen. It's just spring ball. It's just spring ball.
Can we talk about real quick why he always has a good game, Isaiah Washington, when Noah Vedral's not the quarterback?
Yeah, true. Cole Snyder was the
spring game. Yeah, it was Schneider, and then I think who was it? Simon in the Maryland game. He starts catching everything, and it's like, what the fuck? Are you kidding?
True. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I hope Washington does well. Yeah, I hope he does well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean,
I have another prediction too. This is not based on anything. So Maryland game. We're 5-6. Maryland's 5-6. It's a must-win game to get into a bowl. Obviously, it wasn't truly a must-win because we're in a bowl right now. But regardless, the only way to secure a bowl was to win that game. Gavin Wimsatt was at 3 games played. Doesn't play a snap that entire game. Clearly, they had a plan that if they made a bowl game, Wimsatt would play. Now, Wimsatt obviously came in after like 3 games, didn't have training camp with the team. Was kind of, I'm sure he was sent like plays as a recruit to learn the offense, but he didn't have the playbook. He wasn't part of the installs. He wasn't in the room when they were actually getting the offense set for this season. I think the plan was if they made a bowl game to treat it as like a pseudo training camp for Wimsatt to really install the offense because they can't do that during the week when they're doing game prep. So during this bowl game prep, it was going to be getting Wimsatt up to speed with the offense and installing packages for him, installing enough of the offense where he could in some way run it. Obviously, they didn't have that full time because they didn't make a bowl. They weren't really practicing for the first few weeks. I think we see more Wimsatt than we've ever seen this season in the bowl game. He's had time to maybe learn a little bit more of the offense and the time off. I think we see whole drives with Wimsatt playing. And if they go poorly, he probably doesn't play much more. But if he's successful, I think we see some 2 QB weirdness from Gleason in this game.
High risk, high reward, but if he looks good, Hakeem Williams might commit tomorrow or Saturday.
Why play him as much as
I think Wimsatt will play a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
Why play him as much as they did against Penn State? Like he literally threw like 2 interceptable passes in like 4 attempts against Penn State. Penn State's a great defense. You're playing him on the road in a blowout. Like, why play him and put him in that situation if you're not going to put him in the? I don't know. It didn't really make sense to play him against Penn State as much as they did.
I know Shannon mentioned that he wanted him to play on the road and not at home. So that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think he'll obviously play. I just don't know. Like, it's such a risk, man. Like, he's your only quarterback in 2022. It's risky.
Is there like a snap count by game in like the media guide somewhere? Is that something?
It's all on
something
PFF.
that Rutgers puts out?
Yeah, Pro Football Focus has that.
I know Rutgers isn't a big fan of it because they don't think it's super, super accurate, which is not. I mean, it's very hard to figure out every little snap unless you're the team. But Yeah, I mean, what are we looking for? Win stats?
Yeah, I want to see what his season high in snaps is in a game.
It's
'Cause I
got
think he,
every bit of 9, maybe.
okay, I think whatever his season high in snaps is
7.
going to be broken in this game. I
7
think he
against
plays.
Penn State, which I don't know why the fuck they did that one, but
I think he plays at least a full drive on his own, probably 2 or 3, in my opinion. But
if it's working, why not?
Sure.
This might be your only chance. It's so risky, but it's so like
all you need is one play, one really nice play from him that you can just play, like the Illinois play, or it was Illinois. That
Yeah.
would have been his season highlight. We can have a much better, especially if it's like a deep ball. If he completes like a 25+ yard ball down the field, down the sideline, like that is something you could highlight and show, like, look, this guy didn't even have a training camp with us. He came in mid-season, and this is what he's doing in a bowl game against the top 15 team with basically no time to prepare. This kid's legit. Like, they just need one thing to point to. That's all they need.
which is back to my argument. Why the fuck did you play him against Penn State, who was like number 2 defense in the conference or number 1 in the conference, whatever it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because then you lose that little momentum you had with that nice little like roll out / run, throw on the run type thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think you're right. I think you're spot on. He's gonna play. How much? Who knows? I don't know. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Night Report podcast. We will see you next week. Go Knights.